Today I'm getting together with my friend, John McLeod. John is located in London, where he operates JEA Associates, a PR and marketing firm. John is staying at home and working from home. But how are you doing, John?
If someone told me at mid-March, yeah, you're going to be in-house for 8 weeks and you won't be able to go out, see people, do anything, I'd be like, no way, I'll just go mad. And admittedly, the first week was tough, but I think a lot of people I've spoken to, like, we're just readjusting to a new reality, just a quick 10-minute walk and doing some crazy workout video on YouTube where you look ridiculous to your neighbors. But you do adapt, and I've always felt very privileged working in this industry. I've connected with people on Slack, on Skype, all over the world, and that hasn't stopped. Just people are working from home. Yeah, it is tough, but I have friends that work on the NHS. I have friends who work in the entertainment industry, and in so many areas that are really, really suffering because of this. So you have to count your blessings. I'm very lucky, and hopefully the governments and scientific community will come to their senses and realize what needs to be done, and it will come to them. They will release this lockdowns. I really think a lot of good will come of this in ways we don't understand. I mean, this huge shock and impact economically. These are very interesting times, and the old Chinese proverb, "May you live in interesting times," has never been truer now. I tell you, in this industry, we've got equity markets, oil crashing, going negative, Bitcoin halvening next week. I mean, I find it just fascinating the times we're living in. Every time I go on Twitter or just go on the news, I'm like, politics, economics, you name it, markets. It's a very interesting time, and I think the way people consume, work, travel, it's going to change. On my 10-minute walk, just walking in East London, one of the busiest areas of London, yeah, it's so clean. The streets are empty. It's a very strange thing, and it is sad to see businesses bordering up. The small retail. I really feel for them, but I do think the way people do business and the impact this is going to have is going to be huge for some time to come. So,
what's it like in London? Are people actually practicing social distancing and wearing face masks? How often do they go out, and for what reasons?
I mean, this is anecdotal, but when I go out for my sort of 10-minute walk with my husband, it seems like everyone is, and people do keep their distance, and you see people with masks. And then every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock, everyone leans out the window and claps to the NHS, and there's a real sense of camaraderie actually in that one, and which it's not something you're used to. People will keep you in touch on sort of WhatsApp and FaceTime, and you really find out who your friends are in these difficult times. It's kind of reassuring as well. I think people are. I think some people are beginning to crack when it's a really hot, beautiful day. People kind of take it more than they should, which is understandable. But I think by and large, the government were quite surprised at how well people, did adapt and did sort of stay in. But I mean, the death toll is heartbreaking.
The United Kingdom isn't doing so well right now, as far as per capita. The United States is obviously a horror story, but when you go down the stats, the United Kingdom's right up there.
I think they were very slow to test, very slow to give clear guidance as to what, I remember going to a big conference, Crypto Compare conference in March, and everyone was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're here. I think, to be honest, other countries, in Israel, they locked down much more quickly, and they had, you could go online and see, where coronavirus had appeared, if it'd been in your local supermarket or something. They were just much sharper and quicker, and I think there's going to have to be a public inquest about how sharp the government was about this. But it's also an example that so many of the problems we face today are interconnected. No man's an island, no country's an island. Even if you are an island, we are interconnected. And these problems will face, how countries interact with each other and share information and work together. A time of real protectionism that we're seeing now, and nationalism. Virus just shows it doesn't work. You have to work together and share information, and we as citizens have responsibilities as well. And I think actually citizens have actually reacted very well, and people are sort of like out for each other and sort of responding and just doing the responsible thing of staying at home.
There's a lot of pushback here in the United States with people protesting now, and the government seems to be capitulating maybe too early in some people's minds and opening up. My county is still on an increase with new cases being reported and the number of deaths, but half of the counties in our state are opening up right now, and many states are opening up. some people are really, really happy about that. They think that because they're open, they can go out and do it. And that mentality seems to be kind of filtering through every place else. And in my neighborhood now, I see many more people out on the streets, so many fewer masks, people meeting each other, that we know don't live in the same home. And, it seems like there's two ideologies or two approaches to this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it that way there? In the beginning, we all participated, I think, for the first few weeks with some grumbling, but with some obedience to the science. Now many people are just ignoring facts.
Yeah, it's kind of been the recurring theme since the last few years, people just ignoring facts and its scientific expert opinion. I think by and large, the public in this country have been good since they were told this lockdown. Yeah, I saw in the US, it doesn't help when leadership is so muddled in very erratic personalities at the top. Just some of the things Donald Trump's been saying. People listen to the president, and he has the sheer weight of responsibility. I don't think he really cares what other people think, but he really should. His words carry weight, and if he incites people to break the quarantine, they will. And the economic impact is going to be devastating. But there's no moral hazard. The government should step up. They should be printing money. They should be supporting small businesses. There's no moral hazard. It's not like the banking crisis 10 years ago. The government had to step in, but there was serious moral hazard on that. This is something totally different. And there's a role for the government to support small business owners. Touch wood, I'm still standing, but I do feel for people that have, office rents and you have to depend on people coming through the door, and they can't have that.
A lot of questions going through my mind that maybe it would be really fun to talk to you about, but because you are in public relations and you do push out news stories, factual news stories about usually business events, right, that are going on.
The blockchain, distributed ledger technology sector, I have done that for 5 years, and it's been a hell of a roller coaster, but to be honest, for my sector, news is still happening. People are still writing about this, and there is still interest. It's one or two former clients in artificial intelligence, how that can be applied to really sort of speed up, the process of testing ideas and so on. It's really exciting. So touch wood, this industry is still moving on, and everyone said it would collapse under a crisis, but it's holding up, I think. And there are some really exciting projects out there doing great work. It's growing, and it has done the last 5 years. I've been part of it, so. Again, it's a great sector to be in.
I'm really curious, though, about fake news. I'd love to hear your take on that, because it seems that there are so many different news stories that contradict each other going around. And there are so many people who are making decisions based on who they choose to get their news from, their news sources. It's dividing us. And I'm going to use coronavirus as my example, but of course we know that politics is also a serious victim of this fake news divide, and I don't want to get into politics. But let's talk about the coronavirus. And how do you see fake news? What do we do about that?
The last 4 years, what happened in 2016, the idea that the majority of Americans take their news from Facebook is terrifying. The days when people really read the New York Times or the Washington Post in the 70s, and there was real weight to those words when it came out. The number of news sources was much fewer. Local papers were much more respected, much stronger, and they had a real voice. And journalists had real responsibilities, and you knew where news was coming from. But these days, that accountability is just gone. There's very little accountability. And there never was that much accountability anyway. You never knew what a journalist came from, or where he or she came from, or what their views were. But now, just the ability to manipulate news, and how susceptible people are just to ridiculous stories that they see that are designed in a way to make them look real. And often, people pay, and it's not always clear when something's paid for in editorial, where something's, especially in the blockchain space, there's a lot of sort of paid for content. And again, that lack of accountability, or sort of really respectable sources that are very objective. Also, it doesn't help in this space, as you know, it's changing by the minute. There's so many what ifs, or this could be, or speculations. It's just so new. There's very little data. There's so many, how will institutional investors, how will the general public, how will businesses react, how will they develop? There's so many uncontrollables. So it's one thing, but with coronavirus, again, the problem is I just don't think the scientific community have enough data or information over the last 3 months to really understand how it's transmitted, who's more susceptible, whether younger people are more, less vulnerable than older people. We know that, but there's still, that, as I was saying earlier, that process of sharing information between countries. No countries in Ireland. This problem is so interconnected. All countries have to work together, even if there is, isolationist, protectionist political rhetoric and isolationists in power. They have to accept that they have responsibilities, and if it means they share information with China and work with China, and they have a moral obligation to do so. But it doesn't help, weak leadership that we have at the moment is a real problem. But how just having that information to make informed decisions, if you don't have it, it's very hard in defense of the decision makers at this time.
Do you think that maybe the people in the United Kingdom took it a little bit more seriously when leaders like Boris Johnson and Prince Charles actually became ill?
That was quite shocking. I thought if ever, the elite would be protected, but by definition, they're engaged with many people. And there's an example that no one's, this can affect anyone. And, it really is very serious. And you have to really restrict the people you interact with and the number of people. I was very surprised, but it just goes to show no one is immune to this, and you really have to stay away from people.
When will they lift the lockdown? Do you know?
I think there's going to be a speech from the Prime Minister on Sunday. My husband's family are from Israel, and they're about 2 weeks ahead of us, and the schools are starting to go back. And I think they will, in this country, they might start, in a few weeks' time, schools to go back. And there's so many rumours, as you're saying in the news. There hasn't been an official decree, so I just don't think they know themselves. But there is going to be a speech, and there is talk about easing the restrictions. Hopefully things will get back. But in the 1918 flu, it came in 2 phases, and I have a horrible feeling that it might come again in the autumn. Maybe in the summer it will die down a bit, but winters, colds and flus tend to come back with a vengeance as people tend to congregate together.
Here in the United States, the projections, even just for the end of June, are to have 3,000 deaths a day. That's almost double. So that's not really a slowdown here for summertime. And, with all of these states releasing people before all of the considerations are met is probably even going to accelerate that more. So that is very troubling. But like you, I've had to start restricting my access to the news and instead talk to people like you and find out how they're doing. And do you have any coping skills, any ideas or suggestions for people about how they can get through this?
You have to count your blessings. I've been playing the piano a lot, actually. I finally finished Beethoven's sonata. So that's one thing. You have to keep yourself mentally engaged and vary up the days. Do a bit of exercise, even if it's indoors and you look ridiculous, just do it. You need to physically engage and keep your mind and body active as much as you possibly can, even indoors. Just try and break up the day as much as you can with different tasks, or try and keep things varied and, focus on work if you can, and just how you rethink, I've got other ideas as well, and how you can't go out and meet people by definition, but how you connect with people and interact with people. And I've had meetings I've never thought of, just going online on Twitter, and just how you do that. You have to really be innovative, but maybe some good things will come. But yeah, in terms of coping, I'm talking to my siblings and my mum much more than I used to,
Right.
My poor mother, her grandson who stands on the wall and a glass, from the window, and she can wave to him. But, she's in her 70s now and she can't, But having those phone calls, having that support from the family, and just, even if it's only just through a window, at least they can wave and say hi.
So put on your future thinking cap. And you said there's going to be some positive changes. Can you think about what a couple of those might be?
I think the culture of being, I have to be at my desk, I have to be at work, I have to waste an hour and a half every day commuting backwards and forwards on some crammed, expensive tube. People will begin to realize things can still happen. You don't have to be at your desk. I always think, actually, it's great to work with talented people and bounce ideas and interact with people. But, the cost of office space is enormous. It's a huge expense. I think that flexibility of being able to work from home and work and just connect on FaceTime, I think that's going to change a lot, actually. And the need to be in an office and a fixed office all the time is going to be less and less relevant. I think the environmental benefits, I'd like to think there will be a plus side. People appreciate the air they breathe, and there'll be I didn't want to breathe this horrible air. I want to have nice air. And, maybe that will push through on the environments, actually. Maybe some good things will come from that as well. I think the competence of political leaders will be called into question once this is all, the dust is settled. People are going to ask some very serious questions about how responsive they were, how quick were they to react, how prepared were they. I think there's going to be a big political reaction to I like to think anyway, this isolationist, protectionist wave of populism that we're seeing. Realize, sovereignty and isolationism, these problems we face today are interconnected, whatever it might be. We have to work together. China is a rising force. You should be sharing information with China, and vice versa. The virus originated there, but you can't turn your back on people just because you might not like the position you're in financially or economically with them. That sense of working together, and you see European countries working together to solve this, sharing respirators. I like to think politically there will be a reaction, economically there'll be a reaction, and it'll be a positive one. Yeah.
Sort of like a reset button.
Hopefully, yeah. If something good comes of this, I hope it's that.
Well, I'm looking for good things too. Trying to stay positive here. Yeah. So, well, John, I look forward to working and collaborating with you more, and I hope you stay safe and healthy. And before we sign off, I like to take a minute of silence to just reflect on the seriousness of this. Togethering, because we will get through this better when we get through it together.